I think it's time we start revealing some of the scary legal connections between Britney Spears and Michael Jackson. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and I have to say right out the gate, this is a hard video to make. I am not making any allegations. I do not know any of these people. I am merely going to be reading a thread created by Britney the Stan. And the reason I'm just reading this thread is because, look, this is an anonymous Twitter feed. Who knows if any of this is true? I don't want to get sued, and I don't want worse. Look, this is a topic that's scary because there's some very powerful people in place. Now, I'm not trying to imply anything by showing you this headline next to me. However, stuff has gone down, guys. Stuff has legitimately gone down. Peter Lopez was a music attorney who had close ties to Michael Jackson, left a suicide note that was completely silent as to why he took his life. Sources connected to the situation tell TMZ. We're told the one-page handwritten note expressed his love for his wife, kids, and asked for forgiveness, but did not hint at why he would end his life. Source close to the family says Peter dropped off the kids at school about 9 a.m. When he got home, he went to the backyard and himself in the head. We're also told people close to Peter thought he seemed stressed out in the weeks leading up to his death, but he did not tell anyone, including his family, what was bothering him. Look, again, I'm not saying there's a connection here. I'm not saying anything shady was done, but it gives one pause when trying to call out the powers that be. So guys, again, disclaimers. I don't know. I'm just putting out some information that I've looked into, as well as that Britney the Stan has looked into. Do your own homework. We're not making any allegations here. I don't know if these connections are connected. You have to do your own due diligence and make your own opinions at the end of this video to decide what makes sense. Now, before I continue down this thread, I do want to do one quick thing. We are going to attempt to get to some of the truth of it. I'm going to have special guest Taj Jackson, Michael Jackson's nephew, on tonight live. It's going to be 10 p.m., around 10 p.m., give or take a few more minutes. I'm coming from a screening, so bear with me. But he will be there live tonight. I'll put a video card right in the top right of this video, as well as at the end of this video. Please go click on that and hit remind me. You're not going to want to miss this stream. It's going to be very interesting to get some insight on the connections between Michael and Britney directly from Michael's nephew, Taj, who has a lot of information to offer. I've talked to him a couple of times, interviewed him. Wonderful person and has a lot of insight. So stay tuned for that. In fact, if you aren't already, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, please. Smash that bell for all alerts, and leave a like and a comment down below to help the algorithm of this video, because it's probably going to need it. All right, so let's break this down. I know there's some other people have tried to do this. I'm going to give you some insight, but also just read a lot of this, because we got to be careful on this topic. We got to be careful that we're telling the truth. Now, as we all know, Britney Spears dialed in to the courthouse, to court-ordered conservatorship to control her life, to tell the judge who was doing that that it was, not a good thing. I got to be careful of some of these keywords. He
was the one who approved all of it. My whole family did nothing. I cried on the phone for an hour, and he loved every minute of it. The control he had over someone as powerful as me, as he loved the control to hurt his own daughter 100,000%, he loved it.
You guys have heard the tapes. If you haven't, go check out my playlist. It's a heartbreaking call where Britney finally unloads everything. We finally get to hear from her, and it reveals the amount of control and corruption and lies behind the scenes of what was happening, of the powers that be trying to keep her in control, to keep the money seemingly coming. So what does this have to do with Michael Jackson? Well, turns out a lot more than you think. First thing you need to know is that Britney's conservatorship and Michael's trust estate are both being heard in the same courthouse, the Los Angeles Superior Probate Court. Now, this is true. Does this mean anything? Well, if you think the probate court is corrupt in what they're doing with Britney, you could go back and say the same thing about what they did to Michael. That's the connection right there. They're both, the same place where things seemingly went wrong for a lot of fans, family members, etc. I was in this courthouse that Britney was placed under the corrupt conservatorship for 13 years, giving her father complete control over finances and daily life, which we've gotten into in much detail. Now, Britney Spears and Michael Jackson also have the same attorneys on their case. For example, Gerald Cohen, who helped Britney's dad establish the conservatorship, was then also involved herself in Michael's estate after he passed away. Gerald was the attorney for John Branca and John McClane, who now are actually reps of the estate, not the family. More on that in a little bit. Prior to his death, Michael was preparing a concert residency called This Is It, but he originally only agreed to 10 shows. I want to play this clip because it's important to sort of get some of the context here. This was Michael out there making it clear that this was it, that hence the name.
I'll be performing the songs my fans want to hear. This is it. I mean, this is really it. This is the final curtain call.
Right now, we're concentrating on 10 shows. That's what Michael's agreed to. If the demand is greater from that, we're holding some dates, and we may be able to add more subject to his approval. He's going to do all the hits. It's been a long time. It's been a decade since he's been on the stage. So he's going to give the fans exactly what they want, and then a couple of new songs, with married to some amazing, spectacular production.
So far, okay. All right. Seems like, all right. Cool. Sounds good so far.
You told us on Thursday that you were putting 10 on sale. You'd set aside 30.
Correct.
It's now 50.
Originally in the deal, this deal was structured in phases because I didn't want to get ahead of what Michael really wanted to do.
What Michael wanted to do or what you wanted to do. And again, this guy, guys, this is Randy Phillips, who is an AEG promoter, an important figure and one of the real villains here. I'm gonna call it. I personally find a villain because I believe he was out for his own best interests and not Michael's. That's just my opinion.
And we had 10 shows in an arena the size of the O2 would have been a phenomenal thing in and of itself. I mean, Prince did 21. We didn't know. We held 30. And that's all we could get in 09 because the arena is so popular. We blew through we knew we were going to blow through the 10 in the pre-sale registrations, which were well over 1 million. And I had to call him yesterday and say, Mike, we may have to add 20 more shows, and we're still not going to come close to fulfilling the demand. I mean, if he really wanted to, he could spend 2 years here and turn that arena into a club. That's how many shows he could do. And he said to me, he said, Randy, how many shows do I have to do in one city? I said, 50 minimum. And he said, how long am I going to be there? I said, it's going to be 6 months because we're going to do the first batch, the 30, from July 8th through September 31st. And then you're going to come back because we couldn't get any more dates in January, February.
Why are
I said, basically, we'll be able to apply for a British passport for you. But he said, that long? He said, oh, my God.
Yeah, he said, doesn't it sound like Michael's super excited about this? Sounds like totally in his best interest, right? Now, public didn't know at the time, but allegedly here, Michael Jackson was having some financial problems, so they hired this new business manager, Michael Caine, who later testified about this to the IRS. Again, as other people have reported, there's just no images of this guy. But yeah, who contacted you? Who contacted you regarding Michael Jackson? His manager, Frank DeLeo, who was his manager. Do you remember the exact date? No, it was a phone call. Can you tell us about the discussions regarding his financial position? The initial inquiries were that, unbeknownst to the public, Michael was having significant financial problems. Was there further explanation? No, not in the first conversation. I had many conversations with Frank D'Elia as prior to meeting Mr. Jackson. Yes, prior to meeting Michael Jackson. So he was brought in. Now, last year, Britney's dad also hired this same Michael Caine to be her new business manager without giving Britney any notice. So this weird, mysterious figure who was an integral part in the Michael Jackson estate and takeover, etc., now also involved in Britney's conservatorship. And interesting how they keep busy. So here's Randy Phillips again. Part of the reason I don't like this guy. Hear this.
Now, in my dealings with him, okay, he was spot on and very engaged. Okay, my problem with him was he didn't like to work as hard as I thought he needed to work.
And work as hard as I wanted him to work. Work as hard as I needed him to make the money. Why aren't you doing this, Michael? I'm making money. Do it. Work. Sound familiar? Does this guy sound familiar? Huh. Interesting. Working Michael to the bone against his will, putting him under financial problems that he must fulfill. Now he's under deadlines of we oversold. The fans are upset. All of this happening before Michael's death.
And former manager Frank DeLeo knew Jackson was up at all hours of the night.
He said he wasn't sleeping, and I said to him, well, what seems to be the problem? Well, I'm just excited, I'm all wound up.
We saw Michael Jackson deteriorating. We actually saw him
hate this guy
more than a couple of times in Beverly Hills going into a doctor's office. And
hate this guy because allegedly, I'm still trying to prove this, but allegedly there's now reports that Jamie was actually paying them, allegedly, But Harvey Levin, man, special place for him downstairs.
He would come out just out of it.
We love you, Michael.
My dealings with him, okay, he was spot.
It wouldn't work for
Shows
me.
that he maybe didn't want to follow through on the commitment.
When we did the deal, and I'm the one who did the deal with Michael, is originally when we were doing this, we were going to do 30 shows in London. We didn't know how big.
No, they were going to do 10 shows, Randy. Randy's a scumbag. Sorry, not a fan of this guy. He was out there just trying to make a buck. And look, you were responsible, my man. You worked him to the bone. You pressured him out. It's clear as day. Here's an email from Michael Caine, Britney's current business manager, asking if a financial coming to Jesus speech would help or add to Michael's pressure. This was 5 days before he died. Michael Caine, who's now in charge of Britney too. Would a financial coming to Jesus speech help or add to his pressure? It could. Kenny Ortega could quit. Now, was there actually a financial pressure? It doesn't seem like it. I mean, at this point, they're selling out shows. They're clearly going to make some money. I find this hard to believe that there was such financial pressure that he needed to do 100 shows. This, to me, feels like people trying to push him to make the money, to make more, and let's use the financial pressure to make him do it. Now, again, I got to preface all this allegedly, right? Allegedly. Gotta always say the word allegedly. So around this time, Britney. Now, I'm curious if this is true. I don't know if Taj will know, but I'm fascinated to know, is this email correct? But there is this report that Michael had sent her an eerie letter asking her, "Don't end up like me." His warning was eerie. He was like trying to tell Britney to tell it if he was going to die. It's basically saying retire early. I can't vouch for this one, but allegedly, Michael had been in touch with her saying that. And if that's true, that makes it even sadder. On June 25th, 2009, this is now a year after Britney's conservatorship, which started in 2008. He died from a propofol, a powerful drug normally used for surgery that should only be given in a hospital setting. His doctor, his murderer, Conrad Murray, was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. I don't want to play all this. This is just reliving all the terrible stuff that happened to Michael. But Conrad Murray is a monster, and thankfully was found as such. Michael's family would then go on to sue the promoter AEG Live for wrongful death. Jury found that AEG was responsible for hiring the doctor, but ultimately did not give the verdict in the family's favor, which was frustrating.
Conrad Murray.
The gist of the plaintiff's claim against AEG is that you controlled Dr. Murray and you used your control over Dr. Murray to pressure him into taking unnecessary and excessive risk with his patient, Michael Jackson, leading to Michael Jackson's death.
He looked me in the eye.
I mean, it seemed like they had a case, but somehow the jury, the judge, all these people always find a way to not be responsible. Now, Michael Jackson's parents quickly filed to become the administrators of his estate, but Gerald Cohen, who had just put Britney under her conservatorship a year before, filed documents claiming that Michael had willed the power to her clients, John Branca and John McClane. Now, Michael died, This is appointed, the court appointed Catherine as temporary guardian of the persons of the estate, but then filed a petition, the Jackson petition alleges that Michael Jackson did instate and seek to appoint a fight as to who really owned this is really what the question is. This goes into more detail. But Michael's family found a discrepancy with his will because it was dated July 2nd in Los Angeles, but apparently Michael was in New York that day, so they hired an attorney who Free Britney supporters you will recognize, Adam Streisand. Now, I'm not a fan of Adam Streisand. Feels like Adam Streisand left Britney out on the lurch. Chickened out, if you will. He's now come forward and sort of seemingly tail between his legs, seemingly apologizing for not doing more. I believe he did. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he has. And so here he is again, not seemingly doing the best for his clients. So what happened? They had this evidence to sort of prove that the will was fraudulent, and had all this evidence, etc. But then Adam Streisand, for some reason, and the first move of the case was to withdraw the objections altogether and cede the power to Gerald Cohen and his clients. MJ's mother makes a surprise announcement. Michael Jackson's mother has withdrawn her objections to the appointment of the two long-term Jackson associates as executors of the will. came from Katherine Jackson, whose new probate lawyer said on Tuesday his client felt it was time for the legal battle to end over the appointment of lawyers John Branca and music executive John McClane to oversee the singer's estate. Katherine now believes their appointment, as spelled out in her son's will, can enhance the legacy of Michael Jackson's best interest and of his children. It was Streisand's first major move in the case since he was chosen by blah, 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 blah. So here you go. You have the Superior Court intended to make formal appointment. Joe Jackson was admitted from his son with assets going to his mother and children and children's charities. Branca is a lawyer represented for more than 20 years and is regarded as the architect of his financial empire. McClane is a music executive and childhood friend of the singer. So there you go. Now, I don't know what the estate wants, where they stand. I don't even want to pressure Jaws too much to get into that, because I know he's not as close to that part. Being the nephew, he's I'm sure heard things, but you got to remember also, I want to pause here in this thread, because a lot of these people we're mentioning are still current, still involved in this estate. You know, I would imagine that the Jackson family has to still work closely with a lot of these people. Now, I see these threads, I see this stuff, the will could be fake. You'd think that Michael would have wanted it to go to his family. Maybe not. I don't know. But you'd think that, you know, would he really want all these attorneys to hold it all? Did he change the who knows? Who knows? At the end of the day, it does seem like the lawyers attempted to do something to make sure that they could keep the control. That's how I just personally see it. That said, you could also understand that maybe the family wants to play ball with these guys and stay nicely, right, to these guys, because aside from the obvious scary things I alluded to at the beginning of this thread, there's a lot of legal repercussions that can be very, very expensive. And so, you know, you gotta work with who you have, right? Since they don't have the control fully of the estate, they have to be nice to the estate to attempt to still be a part of his legacy. And that's got to be tough. I imagine that's got to be tough. I'd also say I don't think they have the same fan support that Britney currently has. The media is always out for Michael Jackson. That's a fact. It always has been. In fact, I'm sure a lot of people who, I hope you've gotten this far, you're open and know Michael Jackson is innocent. You may have feelings and problems with Michael Jackson. I understand that. But the Leaving Neverland documentary is a scam. I've reported on that before, and you should learn more about the two people who made that documentary. But look, I firmly and positively stand by Michael Jackson being innocent. I know some people still don't, which is sad. Everybody was okay with him until after his death, until that documentary came out, and then suddenly, in his after death, they just decided to when he can't defend himself any further. After he defended himself countless times, multiple lawsuits that he won, where they could have had him easily if he actually had done those things, and they could never prove anything. Anyway, I've done that in detail. In fact, I'll put a little up. If you want to learn more from Taj and the details of that case, go over to Hugging the Cactus. We had a really long conversation to dispel some of the rumors about MJ. But back to the thread, because I want to get through this. So the new administrator in the place now began huge merchandise
Columbia film
deals
for the rehearsal footage.
This is Howard Weitzman.
With a anticipated release date of October 29th.
So they released this movie. This Is It, if you guys remember that, the concert film that AEG had sort of all the footage. And, you know, there's this whole idea of, well, was the family okay with it? Did the family want to release this film? Does any family agree? You know, because if I recall correctly, some of the family was okay with it because they wanted to celebrate Michael and all the work that he'd done and his legacy. Others thought, you know, hey, we can't do this. This is blood money. We can't support this. And so I think it's hard to sort of say, did the family agree to anything? Who knows? I'm sure some of them didn't. I'm sure some of them did. I'm sure some of them thought this could be a good way to continue the legacy, the estate, and celebrate his work, while others maybe had a tough time swallowing it. So it's hard to know, you know, who really thought what and did everyone agree. However, the estate clearly thought this would bring in lots of profit, and saying, you know, Howard Weitzman admitted it was against the family's wishes, some of the family's wishes, but however, they moved forward. Now, Howard Weitzman has a long history with Britney's conservatorship. In fact, he was around the same month it was established, representing Britney in a dispute over pictures with her kids that were sold to OK Magazine. There they were. Just gotten in this matter, but it's very clear Danny Brubaker did not have the right to sell these pictures. It also appears that OK Magazine was on notice, chose to publish the pictures anyway. I'm aware the communications with Sam will further discussions, yada, yada. He was involved. Now, this Danny Brubaker apparently super scummy she came in and just completely stole the pictures, made a fortune off of them. But that's a side topic. Now, Howard would later turn against Britney and defend the alleged mastermind of her conservatorship, Lou Taylor. In a lawsuit being brought against Britney's estate by Brand Sense, Howard recently passed away. Lou said he was always very kind to her. This is from Lou Taylor's Instagram. If you don't know who Lou Taylor is, stay tuned. We got more on that. I got to be careful what I say about Lou Taylor because she's very litigious. However, there were alleged emails from Britney calling her a crazy person who showed up to her house to perform an exorcism. So, which I believe. Sorry, Lou, I believe it. But allegedly. Go do some more work on her. Anyway, so she's connected to Weitzman, and anybody connected to Lou Taylor, for a lot of us, means bad news because we don't believe personally that Lou Taylor's intentions were correct. When you know the history of where she came from, it would bother you as well. Together, Gerald Cohen, Howard Weitzman worked together to release the concert film that included the never-released footage. There they are, before Michael died. In fact, his finances have only skyrocketed since he passed. Now, again, to be clear, the finances going up does help his family. So there is part of me that wonders, maybe the family has come to terms with the estate and glad for the work that they're doing. Is it right? I don't know. But is it sort of what they have to do right now to sort of be involved? Maybe. So rather than just lose up, I don't know. I don't know. It's frustrating. But what I do know is that, they're out there trying to get a lot of money. Apparently Britney's money wasn't enough for them. Gerald Cohen and Howard Weitzman now came knocking for their cut of the check. They came forward seeking millions of dollars for managing the King of Pop's affairs after death. It's unclear how each of them will be paid out. But attorneys Branca and McLean seek 5% of the money the estate has earned so far. 5% of all the money. It's just weird to me because don't lawyers get paid and then get paid for their work, get paid handsomely for the work, but to get paid the whole 5% of everything? It's questionable to me. But what do you do? What do you do if you're the family members? You try to fight it, which they did. They called the administrators of Michael's estate to resign, accusing them of exploiting their brother for financial gain. In a heartbreaking letter, they put everybody signed this and went against them. This has to stop. There can be no more. You will not succeed. John Brock, after brother passed, you said to our mother, "I am Michael Jackson now. How dare you? Make no mistake, Mr. Branca. Before we hit the stage, we were a family, and will to this day. We are a family. We're not going to let anyone abuse our mother, nor tolerate any further attempts to divide us. You dishonored everything that our brother stood for." This was signed by Jermaine, Rebby, Janet, Randy, all sort of coming together to fight, saying that their brother was being exploited. It's worth noting also that Gerald Cohen and Howard Weitzman helped sell the rights to the Beatles catalog, which Michael owed, worth nearly $1 billion. Shocking he sold it. Attorneys working the case have already earned at least $6 million for selling it. And again, it's one of those things you wonder. Michael's estate values up $1 billion in 1 year after selling the song rights to save his kids from poverty. F the son, for one. Don't believe this. Two, I don't believe they were in poverty. That's insane. The Beatles catalog had to be worth so much money. Did the lawyers just want the quick payday, or was this actually the best interest of the estate? You would think holding on to this catalog would only increase in value for the sake of the kids. So it's got to, again, questions you got to answer. Not saying anything corrupt happened, not saying anything illegal happened, but it brings up questions, right? In conclusion, the connections obviously between Run Deep, two of the pop stars' biggest icons, are being taken advantage of, and the same people working with them, the same core system I know Michael would be supporting. There's Britney singing Michael Jackson. She was always seemingly a fan of Michael as the two performed, and she gave him gave each other that award on that show. I forget which one it was, but they've made appearances together. Now, look, I don't want to push Taj too hard on this because I imagine this is a hard spot to be in, and as the Jackson family is, but we're absolutely going to talk about this. But I'm also going to, he's agreed, he wants to talk about just the overall connections between Britney and Michael and really the place of the media. Because I want to see if this is true, the media has a huge part in how these narratives are told. And I think the parallels between Michael and Britney, as someone who was there to witness what happened to his uncle and now seeing what happened to Britney, I think will be very interesting to hear. So guys, you will not want to miss that one next. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Or better yet, if you want to support this kind of coverage and help us against the algorithm, please hit the join button. That helps even more because you fund this channel monthly for us to keep going. Lots more coming on this movement and much more. Stay tuned. In fact, I'll put the link for tonight's live stream right there on the left. Go press that one to remind yourself, join us, or catch the replay of it. Or you can catch the Britney playlist on the right if you want to learn more. Thanks for watching, everybody.